Hi guys, Frank here from Tiny Plastic Spaceman, here to unbag for you the Forge World Warhammer 40k Space Marines Legion Glaive. Oh, yes, this is the Super Heavy that's suitable for 30k play, Horus Heresy style stuff. It is a huge bag. This is a big bag. I think this is, apart from like Titan boxes and stuff like that, I think this is possibly the biggest bag that Forge World do. It's big. It's big and heavy. I mean, those are my hands. I can't even cover the thing. Yeah. So let's just open it up and get in there. So first, I'm going to take out the two pieces of paper. The first thing is the instructions, which is the first thing that we should go through. Second thing is the Forge World Guide to Resin Model Kits. Now, somewhere up here, somewhere here, I'll have a link to the video I did that goes over this actual pamphlet. And there will be a complete playlist on how to work with resin, including the tools that you need, which are in this guide. Also some additional stuff that I possibly recommend. The preparation, there's going to be videos on each of these steps, and assembly, because it's different than working with a normal plastic model. Even though this has plastic pieces in it, it's different. So, now, so be sure and check that out. So, next thing we do is check the instructions, which are here. And we just kind of, now having built the Baneblade before, these are kind of familiar steps. It uses the plastic Baneblade chassis, it looks like. And then you start putting on the various resin pieces. And you end up with this. So, it's pretty standard Forge World instructions. Obviously for the Warlord they did, I think it's full color, much more detail I think, but let's get to the rest of these. So we've got 2, 3, 4 parts bags, which is a lot. That's a lot. We've got the upper hull as one of the pieces on its own outside, just floating about inside the bag. We've got more pieces in bubble wrap. And these are the sides of the tank. So you can see we've got left side and right side. And those, oh no, I have it upside down. Left side, right side. So I think, if that, no, I had it right the first time. Jeez, it's a very symmetrical tank. Okay, and then we've got all the plastic pieces. Now, if you've ever built a Baneblade before, you have 4 sprues, 4-part sprues, I believe, or maybe more. I can't remember. No, you got sponson side. No, I think there's 5 or 6 sprues. Anyway, you've got, these are not identical sprues because one's for the left and one's for the right. So those are from the Baneblade, and then this is also from the Baneblade, of course. So yeah, you've got half the parts at least of a Baneblade here, because you've got the turret pieces, the side sponsons, and I think that's it, isn't it? I can't recall. Anyway, someone will let me know in the comments, I'm sure. But anyway, you've got half of a Bane blade there. So that's an expensive kit. And then you've got all these pieces. So let's start with the upper hull. It's flat, which is a good thing. There's no warpage there. There's a bit of sort of weird finish there, but that's fine. Underneath paint, you're not going to notice that. So that looks good. Now this is the width of a normal Bane blade, and you can see how much wider the Bane blade plus the tracks. Now those tracks go on either side of that, so even just this piece is as wide as Bane blade. But then you're going to have the tracks coming underneath this, underneath here. The tracks are going to be coming out. So yeah, it's basically Bane blade size, isn't it? So it's a super heavy. So let's look at the next most impressive bag, which is going to be this one, of course, the turret. And that big, whew, don't mess with me gun. Looks pretty good. I did notice that there's a lot of work that's going to be needed here. Basically sanding that down, cutting off these pieces here to make that square. But this piece, I'm actually running my fingernail along it. I don't know if you can see the shadow there a bit better. That's a bit of work. But I do believe it is the underside, so it's not going to matter too much. If it were mine, it probably wouldn't matter. Now the main hull, obviously it's a huge chunk of resin, but it looks pretty good. I mean, I see a little bit of where some sanding. I'm looking for bubbles, basically. Bubbles are the first thing, and then warpage for the second thing. This piece isn't going to warp because it's very thick. Well, it could, but it would take a lot to make that happen. But I don't see any bubbles at all. Even on these little very small pieces, even on the rivets, even on this ribbing, or on this this piece here. It looks really good. So that's quite promising. That, in addition to the upper hull not being warped at all, that's good. It's the thin flat pieces like an airplane wing. If you saw the Voss Lightning Flyer unbagging that I did, you will see what I mean about the thin flat pieces possibly getting warped. Now this is the very rear end. This replaces, I think, this piece here on the Bane blade. So it's the same width. Gives an idea. Some flash coming off. Now, if you're curious as to why these pieces, now this is a two-piece mold, resin mold. So you've got a silicon piece here. You can see where the mold line comes down here, and probably here. And it's poured in from the top. If you imagine the top of the video screen is the top of the mold. So the resin is poured in from here. So if you're curious as to why it's angled, it's because so the bubbles flow from the lowest point here up to here, because it's a 3D piece. It's very three-dimensional. And there's lots of pieces and lots of stuff happening here in the molding sense. So that's why it's angled. I'll go into that more in the working with resin video series, but that's the very quick answer. Yeah, so some interesting. Okay, so if I'm angling this piece here, so this right here is flat to the camera, you can just see here where my ring finger is sort of waving, where it's kind of sort of warped down. So that may not affect anything, but it's worth just dipping in some hot water and twisting that piece back up. And again, it's covered in the Working with Resin video series. Okay, so that's 2 bags down. And do this one here because, well, there's an equal amount of small pieces in all of these, or in the remaining 2 bags. There's flash coming off everywhere. Right, okay, so we've got some treads, well, lots of treads, because these are all replacing the Baneblade treads. So a little bit of warpage here, not a biggie, because that's pretty normal. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now the cool thing is they're actually numbered, so that's good. Left, right, so you can follow along pretty easily and get them all together. We've got the Baneblade, well, this is weird because, yeah, we don't have the sprue that the Baneblade, these same barrels that are on the back of the Baneblade. I don't know, maybe they didn't want to include the entire sprue, so they said, okay, we'll just cast up these pieces. And there you go. Actually, I prefer this better because the Baneblade ones, there's a massive line that goes across them if you don't fill them properly. And then we got the end pieces of the treads, the drive wheels of the treads. So that's cool. I know I say cool a lot in these videos, but you know, can't help it. It is cool. I mean, look at this. This thing's going to be massive. Get these put away. Alright, and the final bag. Lots and lots of small little bits in here. All the flashing coming out as well. Right, so there's so many little pieces here. Right, so we've got what looks like a missing piece, but if you dig around a little bit, you find the supposed missing piece. There. And it matches up. Okay. We do have a little bit of a weird kind of artifacting or something. I don't know what that is, but it feels... Oh, no, that was just a piece of flash. But there is a little bit of a hole there, so... Now, the cool thing is, on a tank, you can kind of just cover that up with weathering, or just make it... That's, you know... It's battle damage. No, it's no big deal. It's a tank. Let's see what else we got. We got guns. We've got double las cannons. Now see, there's a bit of where some hot water needs to be worked on. You see how it's angled up, that one. That one as well, a little bit. Not so much though. We've got all sorts of things. We've got guns. Now you might think this is a protective cover for the side. I don't have a picture of the finished thing, but if you were building this without a picture handy, actually no, we have a picture, don't we? You might wonder what's the deal with that long thin piece, because this is the piece I'm talking about. This right here. So where is it? There it is. So you actually cut this piece off. If you're not aware, you cut this long thin piece off and you're just left with this curved piece. That's basically sort of the protection for the gun. So remember, we're also making sure that we have all the parts that we need. So this being the smallest, the bag with all the small pieces in it, this is the kind of the critical point to check that you do have everything that you need. And just a cursory glance, it does look like we have everything. We've got some hatch pieces. Where are the hatch pieces? There's the tip of the gun. There's the hatch pieces. Now those look like there's like some weird sort of warpage or something like that happening on the surface, but that's actually just like a, I don't know what to call it, like a film that sort of develops in the resin plastic as you're pouring it, or as it's like getting partially cured or something. I'm not sure what the technical reasoning is, but basically under paint you're not going to see that. Yeah, I mean, at a first glance it does look like we do have everything. Yeah, and I'm not sure why this is in a separate bag, but I think just because these are just the smallest pieces of the kit. This piece is meant to live there on the sprue, and I suppose that just makes sure that they don't get damaged or lost, that's a nice little touch. And there's a dude. Where does he live? Hasn't popped its head out of the... Oh, there he is. One of these guys. Oh, there are two guys. I only see one. Commander 17, arms. 17 is his arms, 58 is his shoulder pads, and then we have the driver. So this is the driver. Huh. I'm not sure. Maybe we're missing the commander. I'll find out in due course. So anyway, yeah, so it does look like we have everything we need. And yeah, so, oh, and of course the Baneblade pieces, which are here. 3 of the, I believe 6, I'm not sure, it's at least 5 sprues with the Baneblade. So anyway, we've got most of them there. Yeah, so pretty happy with that. It's quite big, which is a good thing, very good thing, quite cool. Yeah, so so I don't take up video time putting these all back in the bag. Just want to say thanks for watching, and this has been Frank from Tiny Plastic Spaceman. Please check us out online at tinyplasticspaceman.com. And check us out on Facebook. Just search for us on Facebook at Tiny Plastic Spaceman. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you next time.